Imagine you're a kid in a classroom with 16 students. You're doing your work, get stuck in a problem, and raise your hand. The teacher comes to help right away. But what if we double the students in your class? Now it's much harder to concentrate, and your teacher always seems to be busy helping other students. Class ends and your questions go unanswered, and this everyday frustration leaves you disengaged with your school.
In my kindergarten class, I teach by myself. I have 25 students.
Around 30.
34 children.
Over 30 kids.
33.
34.
38.
Classes in New York City public schools have roughly 15 to 30% more students than the rest of the state. Large classes lead to chaotic learning environments and overstressed students and teachers. This problem has plagued New York City schools for decades. In 2003, the state's highest court said that large classes deprived New York City children of their constitutional right to a sound, basic education. Since this ruling, class sizes in the city have only grown larger, especially in the earlier grades.
It's a fundamental right to put children in a learning environments where they can thrive. And if we're serious about giving all children access to a fair, equitable education, then we need to start with class size.
When you start to examine challenges in education, so much of it comes back to the size of a class. The more students you add, the more challenges they can face, leaving them frustrated and prone to acting out.
My class went up to over 30 kids. It was really hard for me to focus and for me to get the help that I needed.
You can have children getting lost, difficulties, behavior problems.
It's just inevitable that children will not get all of their needs met, whether they're academic needs or their social needs.
All students are affected by large classes, but students of color, those who are economically disadvantaged, or children with special needs and English language learners are hurt the most.
I have a lot of bilingual children and children who've never been in school before or away from their parents, and they need that very close attention of their caregivers, their teachers.
And it's just so unfair for us to have these expectations, and when they don't meet our expectations because they don't have their fundamental basic human rights of space, we label them as failures.
Teachers have to address increasing class sizes by shifting more time away from teaching towards managing behavior issues, which stem from students lacking the proper attention they need to learn. As a result, students learn less and teachers burn out, leading to high turnover.
The level of exhaustion I would feel after a day of being the only adult in a room with 29 kids. Are large class sizes good for children? Are those the learning conditions that you would want for your child to learn in a crowd rather than a community?
Children should have the opportunity to be able to express themselves with educators who know who they are and can understand the concepts and the backgrounds from which those children come.
It will cause many young people to say, why should I even go into teaching? It's a terrible field. And this can't be good for education. It's also going to be terrible for kids.
When you look at the data, making classes smaller simply makes sense. Smaller class sizes yield higher student success in just about every metric. This is especially true for students from economically disadvantaged homes.
If it was a smaller class, I feel like it would be easier to focus and work as a group to solve problems and see where people are getting stuck.
After a while, you start to realize that you matter in the classroom.
We also need to think about what happens when you don't invest in smaller class sizes. And then you've got children that are falling through the cracks, children that are not able to get the education that they need. We do end up paying for it, but we just pay for it in different ways. At the end, after school, from children dropping out, from children needing more special ed referrals that they might not even need if they were able to have more individualized attention.
We need to be able to create an environment where students feel comfortable, feel safe to learn, where teachers are not stressed to teach.
Dr. Kathleen Cashin, the former superintendent of School District 23 in Ocean Hill, Brownsville, spoke to New York City Council about how smaller classes completely transform the schools in her district.
Not only did the children respond beautifully to the reduction in class size and the closer relationship with the teachers, but the teachers responded better because they didn't have an overwhelming number of children to deal with. Poverty's a terrible teacher, and it drains everyone it comes in contact with. It drains the children too. But when they have that teacher and they can get that attention, it changes their life.
So much evidence that children do so much better in smaller class sizes, and yet it seems like it's something that the Department of Education just refused to do.
If we truly want to be effective in education, we need to reduce class size. That's a constitutionally guaranteed right. We demand it, we want it, and we need to move forward on that, and we need to implement that. If we're really serious about improving our students' education, we need to reduce that class size. And if New York City is in fact a world-class city, then we need world-class schools.
New York City is the richest city in the richest country in the world. But the same can't be said of the quality of education delivered to its students. If our society cares about our students' chance at success, then we need to give our students the smaller classes they need and deserve.